And welcome to our session on mobile web with Figma. Before we get started, I'm just indicating the chat if your network has maybe like buffered for a bit, or if it has logged out or like just blacked out. So just indicate in the chat, and we'll look into that later. But that has a lot to do with what our session is about, which has to do with the mobile web. And as we all know, the mobile web refers to whatever browser-based services that you can access, um, that lets you access the internet via the browser in your phones. And um, the ease and accessibility which mobile phones offer, meaning you can walk around with it, you can put it in your pocket, and you can still make use of that, and further makes it the most preferred platform which people use to access the web. And there is nothing that can be compared to designing especially for mobile devices, because that kind of offers um, the that offers a much more user experience for people that access these platforms on the website. Before we dive into our talk, our session comes with a context which more like applies to how people access or how people experience the internet in these parts of the world. Then we'll also just highlight the realities of this and the things people have to do for this before getting down to the strategies that we go through, or the strategies we take to make sure that we offer people um, is a really special and unique experience on mobile devices. So thank you.
Thank you, Namso. Yeah, so my name is Kayode Jaykay, and I'm a Nigerian, obviously from Ogun State here. And I grew up in Kano, which is the northern part of Nigeria, where I started my education. And then I moved back to the southwest part of Nigeria to finish my education, where I studied computer science. And I took design as a career because I was always drawing from magazines that my parents brought home. And after my education, I decided to take this as a career, and then with over 3 years of experience, I've been designing for various platforms and industries in Nigeria. One fun thing about me is that I love to get into the minds of people to design. And currently, I'm a product designer with Tangerine Life, where we sell financial security products via our digital platform. I'm responsible for designing the experience across all these platforms alongside my colleague OK. And our flagship product is the life insurance, um, where we sell life insurance. And then for future purposes, we want to build an ecosystem that houses financial products, which includes saving, insurance, investment, and credit all on one platform.
Okay, great portfolio, JK. So similar to JK, I'm from Nigeria, Akwa State to be precise, which is located in the southern part of Nigeria. And in a past life, I worked as a clinical measurement scientist in a hospital for about a year. That's just a fancy name for someone that takes ECG readings, EEG readings, and then analyzes this for the medical doctors. Then before I actually switched to a career in tech, for fun, I play video games, mostly fighting bad guys on Call of Duty and Watch Dogs, and I'm really excited about the new PS5 coming out. Currently, I work at Flutterwave. If you look to the right here, that's a picture of my teammate. And well, since we're all working remote now, so I had to still include the ones that just recently joined our team. Ted is our head of design. There is Oshoma, there is Mokhtar, there is Dewomin, there is Kolako. And what we do at Flutterwave, which is a payment solution company, is we help businesses and individuals to make and accept payments from all over the world. And at Flutterwave, I work with the team um, that is solely responsible for designing these experiences on our dashboards and also the internal tools. All right. And some context, which is mostly about what this talk is about and how people around here experience the internet.
Yeah, awesome. So here is where you could find us. We are in Nigeria, which is located in Africa, and it is the most populated country in Africa with over 206 million people. And then we have over 250 ethnic groups with 500 languages. Like as you can see, we are so small but yet so big.
Yeah. And then in Nigeria, Nigeria, which is made up of 36 states, that means it's super big. And Lagos, which is where most of us and where most people stay, happens to be the smallest state in all of that. Compared with the comparison of Nigeria, the population of people, or rather the percentage of people that is connected to the internet is about 46.6%. So you can see the difference. That's less than half of the population. And majority of those is probably people that probably on like multiple devices. So it still adds up to the number. And Lagos State, being the smallest state in Nigeria, is surprisingly the most populated city in Africa, with close to 21 million inhabitants.
Yeah, awesome. So here is some views from our country here in Nigeria. The first picture shows a group of people living their daily life. They are probably living hand to mouth. The second picture is a representation of people stuck in traffic, maybe probably on their way back home from work. And then the third picture is a picture of people who are living their best life. Like they really don't care about anything. They are just enjoying themselves. And imagine you building for such ecosystem and then knowing that everybody is on their mobile device and then you are definitely going the desktop first approach. This is definitely going to be their reaction when they see that you didn't consider them on the mobile device.
Um, and I'm talking about building specifically for people with mobile device. This, what you are looking at now, is a really familiar concept that we see where people oftentimes we start designing on for desktop, then it's now gradually being scaled down to iPads before it's gradually being scaled down to mobile devices, to phones. And at each point in time, you can see that some elements are lost from the designs as it's being scaled down, which further waters down the experience. Um,
Yeah, so this is a typical example of what responsive design looks like. It's basically scaling down from desktop and down to your mobile device. And then the problem we see with this is that the accessibility on mobile device always comes as an afterthought.
which now brings us to our main topic for today, which is the mobile web. And as I already said earlier, it involves whatever browser-based service that allows you to access the internet on your phones and tablets. The next slide here shows the how different mobile web is from responsive web, in case you are kind of asking, so what makes it so different if it still has to do with designing for mobile devices. As you can see here, a responsive web is mostly you building for desktop and scaling that down for mobile web, while mobile web is you building specifically for mobile web and then you can now scale it up from there. And that's one unique difference about it. And this right there still further shows you um, how different people can experience the same platform but from different devices, and this means the experience is only as good as the limitations which their mobile devices allow them to experience your platform. So designing a solution that is tailor-made for devices or that takes all of this into consideration is the ultimate way to go. I'm not sure how many people know all of the devices in this chart, but this is a chart that was made by Jumia, which is one of the top smartphone selling platforms in Africa. And what the chart is showing is the top smartphone brands that people purchased between 2016 and 2018. And as you can see here, most of the ones that we know so much, like Apple, for instance, which only made it into this chart in 2017, which was when iPhone X was launched. Majority of these are Asian smartphone brands that was released, and people around this part use these phones a lot because not only does it take price into consideration, but it also sets most of their needs without them having to spend all of their wages on it.
Yeah. So following up on what Namso said, this is a representation of what the average network speed is in Nigeria. As you can see, we have 11.66 megabytes for download speed and then 9 megabytes for upload speed. This is really low compared to other countries. And in Nigeria here, so a lot of people subscribe to the internet on a prepaid basis, and you can imagine that 20% of an average Nigerian salary goes to buying data. And then if you are going to compare this with the speed they are getting and then everything is just slow for them, it's really going to be frustrating here. So what people usually do is that they currently constantly turn on and off their cellular data. So we need to make the consideration of speed, bandwidth, and data costs into whatever we are designing. Yeah, this is a further chart that shows a comparison between browsing speed across all internet providers in Nigeria. It is no wonder why people use this browser called Opera Mini, because it helps them compress web pages. It helps them load web pages and platforms faster. Yeah, so Namso is going to talk to us about how this works.
Okay, thank you, JK. So Opera Mini, and JK already explained how it works, which is it takes your website, then it compresses it to the smallest size possible before rendering it to users. That means during the data compression period, a lot of your CSS properties, a lot of style that you've implemented in your design is probably being probably compromised. So the users is not expressing the website the way it's supposed to. And it does all of this by helping people also keep track of their data. So say someone that is able to buy 1 gig of data, Opera Mini, and helps them keep track of that data as they are browsing. It shows them how much data that they are saving by using their platform. Then it also helps them keep track of pages open, so they know, oh, okay, I only open like 5 pages. People actually count this stuff, and contrary to what you might think, the data being used is also a big factor that people take into consideration. Like, oh, okay, if this website is going to cost me like 50 MB to open, then I might as well go to use Opera Mini. And at this point, you're probably wondering, why do people use browsers like Opera Mini if it dilutes the experience of some of the top platforms that we know? And this right here is your answer. And these are screenshots that were taken from Twitter 2 weeks ago. Sorry, last week. And there's a whole lot of incentives around this particular browser. You can see some network offering people free browsing and whenever they're using their network on these platforms, or some websites offering them free data whenever they use Opera Mini, or some websites even offering them like whenever they are using this platform, they offer them like free services as well. That's still the lens people go through to be able to access the internet.
Yeah, so an average Nigerian is going to have 2 mobile devices, and one of them is going to be a feature phone. And basically, what a feature phone is a mobile device that has less functionality than a smartphone. Yeah, and then it is mostly connected to the people that are using the best internet service providers in Nigeria. And then imagine your platform running on this, how it's going to look like here. And then one thing we found out is that most users who use feature phone, they usually access the USSD service on it a lot. And USSD is basically like a user dialing a short code to access any service like buying on data or sending money to somebody or something like that here. And then you might be wondering why a designer needs to consider designing for such platform. Imagine as a designer, your your goal is to make the experience of anything you're doing top notch here. And then for USSD platforms, all you have to do is to make sure that the session length is not too long, and then the character limit when displaying characters to your user is not too long and ambiguous. Yeah.
Okay. Now, this brings us to some of the strategies which we employ to make sure that we still design the ultimate experience for our users, because these are people that we see every day. And like I already said, designing the ultimate mobile experience is not something that you just do. It's not something that just happens. You have to be deliberate about it from the very beginning. And this means taking a lot of factors into consideration, which in our own case, it involves maybe network costs and delays. So if network is kind of expensive around this part, then that means we need to take some into consideration, like number of images or the website speed, how long it takes for it to load, and all of this. Then combined with device limitations like um, the device RAM or memory. Does the website take a whole lot of space and all of that? So
Yeah, so we have some strategies we are going to be talking about, which includes mobile first approach. It should always come first while designing. We also have mobile visibility tests with Figma. We also have a need for speed. We also have keeping your platform simple, and the last but not the least, making your content less. Yeah, so let's start with designing for mobile first. Everyone right now, we know that mobile is red hot right now. Like I'm pretty sure most of us are even streaming this conference from a mobile device. If you are, you can drop it in the chat here. And then most people, most designers are still designing from desktop up until they go to, sorry, they are designing for desktop and then they scale down to mobile. Why are we trying to design for a dying medium? And because if 63% of traffic is coming into your platform via mobile devices, then you have to really consider that. So we need to take into consideration the limitation of mobile devices, which includes screen sizes and bandwidth. And so designing with these parameters in mind forces us to prioritize content frequency.
okay. And the next one is usability test, which this slide right here is actually the new reality due to everyone working from home. And sometimes network just goes crazy due to the current load right now. Now, as if usability test is not crazy enough, now think of remote usability test. This is something that you also have to take into consideration, especially when you are designing. And a lot of people here are probably familiar with this, designing and testing for usability. Moving forward, the actual usability test is something um, that plays a really huge factor when designing for mobile. And one top example is if you're designing a website, testing the mobile views of the platform on actual mobile devices and not just using a virtual environment to test it on mobile. Why? Because mobile devices, unlike the desktop and counterpart, they offer a unique experience and they also come with its own limitations, which will probably let you know how the device is working, or if a particular screen is above the fold, or if it fits into one viewport on mobile devices, and also testing this across several devices. But that lets you know how best to optimize that to still deliver that ultimate experience. Then the second one is probably what the image on this slide is about, which is removing the browser interface. As if you are testing on a mobile browser, I mean the browser already comes with its own interface. So not including that in your design is one huge factor. It might seem minimal, but this happens a lot and due to some of our observations. Then also creating the design such that it loads faster on mobile devices, especially in the browser, which you never can tell the browser that people will probably be using for testing that. And as much as unless you are testing on a much larger scale where your participants have like 10 cameras pointed at them for you to observe their facial expressions, or keep track of whatever action that they're taking or reading their body language so that you can get exactly how they're feeling about what they're testing for you. It's also best to test out the devices which they'll be conducting this usability test with, like the camera and the screen sharing properties.
Yeah. So another strategy we'll be looking at is the need for speed. Speed is very important to users because it's all well and good when you have the best experience in the world and when you have the best app. But what's the point if your site loads for 10 seconds? We have a stat on the screen that says that 40% of people will leave your platform if it takes longer than 2 seconds to load. Yeah, because a user can do a lot of things in 10 seconds and they can start reading a book.
Can learn how to drive a car.
Like you said, they can learn how to drive a car, they can do a lot of things. And then as you can see, customer demand and expect a fast moving website here. And it starts with some on the internet is that 1 second of site speed could be worth 5% of your business revenue. So imagine um, your platform or your website or your web app loading as slow as 10 seconds, a lot of revenue will be lost and a lot of users will be lost in the process. And here is an example of how speed affects bounce rates. The higher your page takes to load, the higher the bounce rates, and we wouldn't want people to bounce off our websites. Yeah.
All right, thank you. And the next point is the less is more concept, which has more to do with content hierarchy on pages and being able to optimize the content load. Like that means giving them as much and in-depth information as possible by using as few words as possible that can allow. Content distribution is key in this stage, which plays a fact plays a role similar to showing them what is important first, probably as big as possible. The sooner the sooner they take in your website, the easier it is for them to also know what to do without having to spend so much time waiting for a lot of contents to load.
Here is a very good example of what Namso was trying to illustrate. Google got it right by making good use of abundant space, less distraction. You know that when you come to this site, you are searching and then you just go straight to the point without any distraction. White space is abundant and it's just really, really simple.
All right. Speaking of simple, brings us to the next one, which is keeping a platform as simple as possible. And simple in this case doesn't only apply to and designing a minimal websites or design like minimal experiences, but it also includes the processes and steps that users have to take when they are accessing your platform. And this is a good example with what Uber did. And the steps required to book a ride is the same everywhere, no matter your country or where you are. And it's just 3 steps from when you select where you want to go to when it gives you the driver. And this makes it much faster for people to not have to spend so much time trying to figure out what to do. Which brings us to the conclusion that designing for mobile web is something that requires a deliberate effort to go about it, like the strategies involved being mobile first and
conducting usability tests on your mobile devices.
Then optimizing your platform for speed, definitely not the game.
Yeah. You can't go wrong with keeping your platform simple.
Right, and avoiding non-useful content. Yeah. In conclusion, designing a global product means researching on the diversity of technology that will be used to access this product, and this helps you deliver a much more consistent experience across devices, maybe desktop or mobile devices.
Yeah, awesome. So to wrap this up, I saw this quote on the internet and it says, we should understand how each of us as an individual is unique, but also focus on what is universally important to all of us. So bringing it back to our economy, what is really important to us is how an average Nigerian will want to minimize the number of time he spends on the platform and also save cost, like save the data he uses to visit this platform. And then if you can put this into consideration, we can increase the access to our platforms or our services. We can reduce friction, and then we can create a more emotional connection. We are in literally whatever we are designing. Yes, and
Thank you.
thank you, people. Thank
On
you.
questions.